Have I said it? Chapter 7. Spiritual life. Spiritual life is a spiritual relationship. God performs this work. This way is fulfilled by grace. It is made perfect and true by grace. What's true about spiritual life is that there is God, truth and reality. And there is grace. Spiritual life is a spiritual relationship. It is an involvement with grace. It is life in God, truth and reality. It is a graceful process. Because the spiritual process is divine business, it can be done very easily. It is already done. We are not talking about some condition that is or can be accomplished. We are talking about the condition that always and already pertains. The foundation of spiritual life is not the absence of the intuition of the divine. The foundation of spiritual life is the intuition of your real condition, the intuition of the divine nature of this moment. I don't mean life evolving toward the divine, but life presently founded in the divine. Life isn't intended to be a mystery that leads to the discovery of God, truth and reality at enlightenment or at any other point in the future. Life is founded in God, truth and reality and is meant to be lived in God, truth and reality happily and without mystery. Life becomes a drama that is not leading to the divine. It is leading nowhere. Life is not leading anywhere. Truth or reality becomes not the goal, but the very principle of life. Spiritual life is the company of truth. It is a relationship to one who lives as truth. It is the very nature of life. It is the form of existence. Spiritual life is not the activity of spiritual seekers. Spiritual life begins when the spiritual search is abandoned and communion with God, with truth, is begun. It is a matter of living in divine communion from the beginning. It is the assumption of the divine as the active principle and condition of your life. Then you begin to utter freedom in the infinite intensity of God. The true way is to realize God in truth. It is God first, not God as the goal. God, truth and reality first, as the principle of life. Then the world is known in truth. Then all the psychophysical manifestations are known in truth. The real or true way of spiritual life is to assume the condition that is divine communion, to live that condition constantly, now, in this moment, and now, in this moment. The truth is this condition, and that's the good news. The real good news is that none of that seeking is necessary. It is all nonsense. The good news is that the condition that is happiness is free of this dilemma and all motivated existence, that all of that is completely unnecessary and can in this moment be sidestepped, obviated, undermined and completely bypassed in the way of real spiritual life. The divine power of this work is perfect. There is no obstruction in the cosmos, no obstruction in a human being that can stand up to it. It is nothing. It is just a ride. It is no big deal. It's nothing. It amounts to nothing. You're very serious about it, but at some point it won't mean anything to you. This way is simple and easy because it does not take billions of lifetimes, but it requires a hell of a lot in one lifetime. And yet someday you will look at it and see that it required nothing at all, that you did nothing. It all seemed very dramatic at the time, and yet it involved nothing at all. The true way is the one that is blissful now. The true teaching turns you to present bliss and does not require you to create it. The condition of relationship already exists as your condition. What has to be added for that to take place? Nothing. All that is required is relationship itself, the condition that is always already the case. Allow it to develop and reveal the divine to you according to its own pace. Live by faith, not by design. You cannot overcome this world, but the divine has already overcome the world. The grace of reality itself absorbs ego consciousness and makes it identical to absolute consciousness, and it is all done in a very natural, easy transition. You couldn't do it yourself. You would refuse to do it as soon as you realized what was actually required. The individual cannot understand. The individual cannot do understanding, nor can he do no seeking and no dilemma. Spiritual life is not about winning. There are no winners in God, none. Know that you cannot be responsible for it. Know that you cannot figure it out. You do not understand it. You cannot understand it. That is the truth. Here is spiritual life, divine communion. Live it. Be happy to have discovered that you cannot figure it out. Allow the divine to create your event. The divine is always creating a perfect event. If you live it by faith, in other words, if you live always already in divine communion and allow the manifestation of your event, your life in any moment, to be the divine occasion, perfection will always be manifested in the forms of conditions appropriate to this moment in God. Nothing happens to you that is not appropriate. All events serve truth. Everywhere, everything combines for the sake of truth. Nothing happens arbitrarily to those who live truth. The radical point of view is not one of seeking step by step through experiences, but by penetrating, prior to any movement at all, the present condition. If you always move directly to that condition, that happiness, prior to your games, your separateness, your fulfillments, then you have already passed through everything necessary for your disillusion in God. You will never gain anything again by experience. So if it has become complicated, return to the basics: God, grace, truth, and reality. There's no meditation technique for you to acquire. I do not recommend that you meditate. There is only understanding. Therefore, understand. There is no right motive for adopting it. There is only the discovery that you are already doing self-contraction. It is not a matter of your meditating yourself to the point of realization. The actual power of the divine is activated in understanding, and that power does the meditation. That power is the meditation. The divine power is greater than anybody could possibly comprehend. It is not itself experiential or yogic in nature. It is not even mystical in nature. But it is perfect nonetheless, and more than sufficient. It is real, absolute. It is present in silence. It is immediate, direct. The power of the heart manifestation is a moveless intensity without center or periphery that grasps consciousness and draws it into itself. In the condition of divine communion, you are meditated. Meditation is not your concern. The Lord is the great master of meditation. He alone is the mediator, the meditator, and he alone is the supreme object of meditation. In the process of this meditation, only the Lord is known. The Lord must meditate you. The Lord must enter. And when the Lord enters you, he makes you ecstatic. Intelligence is the fundamental meditation. Consciousness is itself the meditation. Real meditation is an expression of that rather than a way to get to it. Real meditation is already a radical activity. It is not purposive. It has no dilemma to solve. Real meditation is an intense fire. It is a marvelous intelligence, a brilliance, a genius, a living force. It is not a pious attempt to quiet your little thoughts. It blasts the hell out of these thoughts. The most intense meditation is one in which the form of reality itself absorbs consciousness. When consciousness moves into relationship, the mind falls away. The mind is replaced by a form of intensity. It doesn't make any difference what is inside. It all has to go. It is really very simple. You just throw it away. The key to the matter is not how to throw it away. The key to the matter is recognizing that it is just stuff, garbage. As soon as you see it, you know immediately that you should throw it away, drop it. You're just looking at a lot of garbage and thinking it is the precious instrument of God. But I'll tell you right now, it is all garbage. Everything you are given is garbage, and you are expected to throw it away, but you meditate on it. None of it is the divine. It is garbage. You are being asked to sacrifice everything. The divine vision is just a pimple on the goddess, except it is not recognized as such by seekers. They think, oh, it is the Lord. They couldn't care less about the Lord, because we know the Lord would require them to be obliterated. The Lord in truth requires the sacrifice of self-existence. Nobody wants such a thing. They want the goddess who will pamper them and delight them. That is what people want. The usual meditation is only a consolation. The ordinary yogi or religious man, he may think he is looking at the blue of Krishna or the white of Jesus until he loses face. Until the sudden zero, he looking at Krishna or the Christ. He is only consoled, only distracted. His realization and his death are kneeling in one another. What are you looking at in this turning inward? The same thing that you are always looking at. The same obsession. The usual meditator is just another obsessed man, unaware of relationship as its actual condition. Fulfillment isn't worth squat. It is not a matter of the quiet mind, the empty mind, the blissful mind, the transcendent mind, or even the divine mind. Truth is of a radical and most prior nature. It would be better to be cooked alive than to gain a little peace by method and trickery. And even if there is a little quiet, real spiritual life must begin at last. Spirituality is not the way to truth. The cultic path is not the way to God. No spiritual process makes you realize God. There is no such process. The divine already enjoyed is the foundation of any genuine spiritual process. All these ways of realizing God are false. The traditions have only felt the comedy that men may attain. All those ways are absolutely false. There is absolutely no way. There is no way. There is no path. None. In order to know that with certainty, you must realize that all paths are fruitless. All paths are suffering and avoidance. Spiritual life is not the extraordinary. Spiritual life is not sitting in the cave reciting the mantra. 30 years of Shakti experiences will occupy a fool, but they will not awaken him. In the presence of the divine person, there is nothing to be attained. There is no state to be attained. There is no God union, and so God is there to be unioned with. And when God appears, you are not going to have to do your spiritual breathing. It will all be very obvious. You won't have to think about what is necessary to be done to become one with God. All righteousness, all ordinary spirituality, or the search for consolation is nonsense. It is refusal. It is unreal. All separation is an illusion, and all attainments are an illusion. There is no separation and there is no attainment of union. No process, high or low, in any plane of manifestation is truth or leads to truth. The only way to truth is truth itself. Truth is the way. Spiritual life is a relationship, a living demand. The way is the condition itself, the relationship itself. It already exists. It is the spiritual discipline, the meditation. There is nothing else that needs to be added to it. The condition itself, the relationship itself, is the spiritual discipline. Spiritual life is a relationship. It has always been so. Nothing apart from that relationship is offered. Spiritual life is simplicity. It is relationship, relational life. It is your conscious humanity. You must live it. You must become a human being. To be intelligent, you need not first realize absolute truth. But no one can realize absolute truth who has not first become intelligent. You must become masters of the ordinary. Truth is resurrected from the ground up. Spiritual life is not a form of consolation. Its foundation is not a fascinating promise. Spiritual life is threatening. Spiritual life is not leading towards your fulfillment in some great vision. Spiritual life is leading to the absolute undermining of your separate existence, absolutely. Spiritual life is not a cure. There is no remedy. Spiritual life is the life of truth. Spiritual life is a demand, not a form of therapy. It is the practice of life in a world where the living heart, not your dilemma and search, is the condition. Real spiritual life requires everything of a person. Spiritual life is a crisis. The crisis in consciousness is spiritual life. The suffering and the intensity, tapas, is spiritual life. Spiritual life is living intelligence, conscious in dilemma, but with intensity. We begin spiritual life only when we have already discovered the terrible truth. It is because you are sensitive to the fact that you are disturbed that you become willing to engage spiritual life. It is better to be disturbed. It is right to be disturbed. In your condition, one should be disturbed. It is quite correct for you to be disturbed because, in fact, you are disturbed. To be disturbed and yet not to feel disturbed would not be appropriate. It is much more intelligent to realize that you are disturbed. That is the beginning of spiritual life. At least that sensitivity affords the possibility of spiritual life. No one begins to live spiritual life until he or she has suffered. Life is suffering. Suffering is the first form of grace. Suffering has released you into your own depth. Come into the presence that is God when you are already happy. It is not a matter of any experience whatsoever. It is a matter of falling out of the conditional and conventional representation of existence into that prior absolute enjoyment. It is all garbage. Throw it all away. Only God is the condition of consciousness and life. Spiritual life is life in the condition of truth. Spiritual life has to do with continuous happiness, continuous bliss, continuous freedom, continuous relationship. To live that divine communion under all conditions is the discipline of our work. Happiness is the responsibility. Freedom is the discipline. To be free is the ultimate discipline. Happiness is what it's all about. Unhappiness is the highest crime. Spiritual transformation depends on this realized ecstatic condition in every moment. A spiritual life is one in which you lose face in each moment, in which you are the servant of God, in which you are dependent on the services of God. Unless such a literal and conscious and ecstatic and face-losing affair appears in every moment as your life, you are not living spiritual life. If that glorious, ecstatic kind of happiness and distraction is not present, spiritual life is not possible. There is no call for seriousness at all. There is never any call for seriousness. There is no reason to be serious about anything whatsoever. You must already be happy, already full of humour. There is no reason why you have to be extraordinary. Be ordinary, be happy, da. Before you started imagining a program for your ultimate victory or defeat, by desiring and creating circumstances for yourself, just before all of that happens in this moment, just before you believe all of that, you are happy. And it is better to be happy that happiness is your condition. All of the rest of it is an hallucination by which you program your life. Be easy, be full of enjoyment. It is not to annihilation that you are invited. It is to the fullness of God that is happy and free. There is only this humour, this freedom, as the radical foundation of conscious life. And it makes no difference except that every other state, object or form of knowledge makes a difference. Universal modification as a functional rather than a conventional condition, known in truth, is wonderful. All human possibilities, if they are managed in God, are enjoyable. Life is fundamentally delight when released from the strategic destiny of Narcissus and the conventional cult of this world. Life or the cosmos is a modification of the great divine. What heresy to assume the laws and power of modification is false or to be gotten rid of. It is all God's work, God's happiness. It is to be known and lived in truth. Therefore enjoy it, for you alone must live your ends and all the stages of time. Enjoy and create according to the wisdom of your own form. All that arises is to be realized as the conscious theatre of God. Not any yogic bliss, but to be already and pleasantly happy, regardless of the apparent condition, is spiritual life. All the manipulation of the life force is God's concern. Life in truth is to be already happy without any reasons whatsoever. Not to be hoping to be happy by moving into samadhi. This enjoyment is the principle of life, not its goal. True bliss is the enjoyment of your condition in truth. It requires the most perfect sacrifice. Truth is life, is to live the primary condition of relationship under all conditions, at all times. Live this conscious relationship always. You should just live that relationship. Live that forever, a lifetime of truth. True spiritual practice is to live the condition of that divine relationship, divine communion for a lifetime, even eternally. Spend no time whatsoever analyzing yourself. No time. I mean no time. Don't spend any more time in your little self-concerned life. Turn yourself completely over to that process without nothing, and every moment throw away everything that you've withheld. You must make every moment an involvement in that process. Every moment must be realized in this form of service. Every moment must be realized as the sacrament in which the self is yield, in which all content is yield, and in which grace is received. You are under an obligation. You must go through it. You must maintain the form of spiritual life eternally. Having begun, never abandon it. Never. Once having found it, to abandon it is the height of foolishness, worthy of what it realizes. Now you must do it, and if you don't do it, then you will suffer. If you do it, you will enjoy God. Enjoy the condition of spiritual life with open intensity, and you simply won't be obsessed anymore. The fact that any of that remains is not really any concern of yours, because it belongs to God. So fine, now it belongs to God. It is a matter of living the truth, and truth obviates what is not truth. Do this always freely and with humour. Just do what you have to do and get it started. Then it goes on forever. Everything else is quick. It seems that talking about spiritual life tends to make it appear a very complicated process. It is here. This relationship is a real condition. You must be very simple and very direct. True spiritual life is much more practical than that, much more direct than that. It must be. It is here. Da, 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 by Bubba Free John. Da.